Hello and welcome to Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures. My name is Ben and with me is...
Aries.
the only interesting character in this film.
Would you say he's interesting though?
I said when you're comparing him to the rest, maybe.
Because this week we watched Tron Aries. So this was my pick and it was something that I just wanted to do with a friend because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. So I am glad that we shared this experience together because I think I would have been a little bit too sad by myself. And that's a spoiler for what could be
Look,
coming.
The power of friendship got me through this because without friendship, I wouldn't have finished it.
Look, let's do a summary of what this film is all about. And then we'll throw over to you for some facts and then we'll give our thoughts. So in 2025 or thereabouts, Encom and Dillinger Systems race to make digital life permanent. Encom's Eve Kim, who is the CEO, apparently, uncovers Kevin Flynn's lost permanence code, while Julian Dillinger, also a CEO of Dillinger Systems, its rival CEOs in this particular film, unleashes Aries, a self-aware digital soldier with a 29-minute lifespan in the real world. As corporate warfare spills into the real world, Aries begins questioning his purpose and defies his creator. Betrayals follow, lives are lost, the grid collapses, and Aries earns true permanence. Humanity gains the technological responsibility. What is that? Technological responsibility. I didn't write this. So while one man... Yeah. Look, let's just say that's what happened.
That's what happened.
It's close enough.
Let's get to some facts because I think we aggressively have things to say about this film. Released in 2025, directed by Joachim Running.
Well done, buddy.
Thanks, man. We practiced that before the pod. Written by Jesse Wigato. Cinematography. I didn't look this one up. Jeff Cronenweth. Starring Jared Leto, Gretel Lee, Evan Peters, Jodie Turner, Hassan Minaj, Arturo Castro, Gillian Anderson, and Jeff Bridges. I will also mention Cameron Monaghan and Sarah Dargins because I'll bring them up later. Music by Nine Inch Nails, specifically Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Runtime of 116 minutes. Budget 180 mil to 220 mil. Box office, domestic 73 million, international 69 million, worldwide 142,249,983 dollars. And look, I like bringing it up. This movie didn't make its money.
Look, yeah, it sounds like we're sort of, gearing up to really rip on this movie. I didn't want to, and hopefully we don't.
There's good things to say about this movie.
Thing is, I like the Tron series. I really do. I particularly have a soft spot for Tron Legacy. I think that, it's a little slow in parts, but it's got a great style and there's a lot to love about it. So I was sad when they didn't decide to continue Tron Legacy and do another one. And I am now a little bit baffled that they decided to do this for Tron Aries. Just when you think about it in terms of a series, it's not really a surprise in the sense that what they're doing here is a soft reboot sequel.
Soft reboot, yeah.
But I find that so frustrating because I just go, it's that whole, we want to have our cake and eat it too. We want to do a sequel, but we don't really want to do a sequel. We kind of just want to start again. But all the people who like the series, we don't want to annoy them. So it's a soft reboot kind of sequel-ish thing,
I looked up the journey that this film took to reach our screens, and it's interesting in the way that movies get made sometimes are interesting. So, the original concept was that this was a direct sequel, following the journey of our previous two characters in the second film. I can't remember their names. It's Flynn's son and the program girl.
Son of Flynn and Olivia Wilde.
There you go.
And Sam.
That's it. Sam Flynn. That's it.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a lot more set in the real world, dealing with technology coming into it. So that bit carried across. And that sounds like it got kind of scarpered pretty quickly. And then with like the acquisition of like Marvel and Star Wars by Disney, Disney kind of put Tron on the back burner because it's like, hey, we have this stuff to do now. And then they're like, okay, well, let's bring Tron back out and we'll write this thing. And then writers got replaced, and then Leto gets attached as an executive producer. And then you kind of get this thing built into Aries, which it sounds like Aries was in the original Tron sequel or Tron Legacy sequel that they were writing. It got carried forward. They carried forward the real world stuff that they were kind of planning. But again, they soft rebooted without getting rid of Legacy. So Legacy is still canon in this movie. It is a weird journey for a film. It's a weird path for a sequel to take. It's almost like I felt like this is almost like, in modern parlance, it should be like a side story almost.
Yeah, this screams side quell. It screams like, comic book tie-in. That's the kind of scope of story that we've got here. Sorry to jump in, but that was literally echoing my thoughts. I was like, this is the kind of story that you pick up as like a marketing tie-in to a movie that's about to come out. It's like, a little bit of prequel on some of the characters before we get to the actual film. It's just the way that they've engineered the stakes of the movie, where they're going, what they're doing. Like, it was a kind of thing that sort of frustrated me. I was like, if you look at what they actually do in the movie, even though it looks like all of the money they spent on it, the idea is, it's like a $50 million idea. It's not a $200 million idea to have Aries have this crisis and we spend a little bit of time in the real world and a little bit of time on the grid. So I don't know. I just wanted to jump in with that because that was really what I thought.
I kind of want to say my three main complaints with this film. Four, sorry. The first is, you just kind of brought up, the plot is pretty bare. Like, there's like the major jumping points in this plot are not super interesting. They're not super fleshed out, and they kind of go from bit to bit, almost like a visual art piece rather than a piece of film. The villain, I thought, was very poor in this film.
Which one?
I'm gonna go with the human villain, Dillinger, or son of Dillinger, or son of Dillinger. I forget which Dillinger we're up to. I found him insufferable in the most uninteresting way possible. He was just, I want. I'm mega smart. Everyone should love me like they love Flynn, like they love these CEOs. And it just didn't ring with me in any way that made him interesting. I think in films, and I've brought this up before in various ways, I think the villains have to be more interesting than the protagonists a lot of the times. And this was a circumstance where I think that was very necessary. He needed to be in some way more interesting than our protagonists. And that brings me to my last point. I did not care about a single character's journey in this film. I didn't care. And that was what... It is a very pretty film. It sounds good. It looks good. There's been a lot of effort and attention to detail in those areas, but the characters, I didn't care. They didn't give me time to care about any of them. They threw me into a middle of a story that I felt like had been going for 2 movies already, and this was like a culmination of that. And I just like, I don't really hate these people. I don't like these people. I don't really care about these programs gaining sentience. Like, nothing hooked me in from a character perspective.
No, and on that, I would say as well, like, there's something really off about the way they construct the characters in this movie. Like, much as you're saying you didn't like Dillinger, I'm like, fair enough. Like, at least it kind of made sense, in the sense that it's like, okay, your granddad was in this world. You are now the tenuous kind of inheritor of this company, and you desperately want to be the CEO. The NCOM, the protagonist side, makes zero sense. I'm not sure how you get to be like, I don't know, late 30s, early 40s, and you're like, maybe I want to be the CEO. I don't know. I really just want to, do other things. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's a multinational $1 billion company. You don't sort of what are your life circumstances where you're like, maybe I'd like to be the CEO? Like, what kind of board is just sort of saying, let's give it to her? Like, and
Yeah.
yes, there's this weird backstory where
Yeah.
it's her and her sister, but even that is just super unclear. I'm like, what is it? It's not like, it's not like an old feudal empire whereby the next of kin gets to succeed. It's just weird.
From the brief conversations they have in the film, like they were joint CEOs, and our main protagonist was like the video game developer, and the one that passed away before the start of this film was like the business software engineer person, right? And she was like the main CEO. So like, and even in this film, they suggest, oh, she was just going to finish her sister's work and then quit. Like that was her whole thing. But again, none of that is presented in an interesting way.
No, but also just in a way that just has you asking so many questions. How do these relatively young people get to be in such a position of influence, but also not really want it? Which then starts you down rabbit holes of like weird privileged narratives and stuff like that, where you go, oh, they have this great, and but they don't really want it. But they want to do something else with their life. I'm like, this is not compelling. This is not interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really struggled. You were talking about the characters.
In the second movie, I can't remember, but was like Flynn famous in the real world? I thought he just disappeared, right? And he'd been gone for like...
He disappeared, and then there was mystery about it. But like, he was like, as presented in Tron Legacy, he was like an icon of the 80s, and then he disappeared, Okay. So I don't know. I found, so that's a weird way to get going. But I think you had a fourth point. I just wanted to jump in on that.
Didn't care about characters. Villain was poor. Oh, there were also unnecessary characters. So there was this, it felt like a cut plot line, 100%.
Are you about to say, why is Cameron Monaghan in this movie? Like,
so there's two of them, right? There's Cameron Monaghan, who's like in it so briefly, and like, oh, he cares for you and he would have avenged you, but we don't know why because we've never seen your face until when you died. And the second is like the CFO and his assistant. The assistant doesn't need to exist. It felt like there was a whole plot line with those two that got cut. And they're like, well, at the end, we still need 3 people to hack the computer, so we'll just keep them. So it's like this really kind of like plugged in characters that are just like, I don't know why they existed. They could have just been the CFO. You don't need the 2 of them. It just felt clunky. But yeah, Cameron Monaghan's weird.
Like, it's that weird thing of when you not finally, because he's barely in the film, but like, so when Cameron Monaghan, it gets revealed he's injured and you see his face, I'm like, oh, cool. I like Cameron Monaghan. He's about to be, a part of the movie. And then he just instantly dies. And I'm like, wait, why is he in this movie? Like, I don't care about his character. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
why does he die for real when none of the others do?
Yeah, they all just respawn. It's just...
He doesn't respawn in the movie.
And actually, that sequence... So there's a sequence in the movie early on where Dillinger is kind of hacking in the real world, hacking in inverted commas, but in the real world. And then you see the visual representation of that with Aries and the rest of his computer programs within sort of the Tron world as they sort of go through break a hole into the side of and then they head in. This is interesting. This is an interesting idea. This is an interesting sequence. And it is a one and done, and it is completely then abandoned in favor of literally getting in cars and driving between CEO headquarters. I'm like, we're at Encom. We need to be at Dillinger Enterprises. We're at Dillinger. We need to be at Encom. Let's go back and forth between the
There's
two.
There's an odd amount of driving in this film.
Like, why are we doing this? This is very strange. Like
there's an odd amount of characters traveling and giving exposition,
but only between those 2 locations.
Yeah,
like that's the other thing. I'm like, I like a good fugitive story, but you need to go from one place to another place in a linear kind of quest narrative to just ping pong between 2 mega corporations across a darkened city landscape is just so boring and devoid of all tension.
the last thing I was thinking, and you've just brought it up there's tension, right? There is a built-in tension device in the narrative here, and that is the 29-minute time frame. This is supposed to create moments of peril and stress for a character that is effectively immortal, right? So we have this: the enemies, the Dillinger can only exist in the real world for 29 minutes. They use it a lot, but at no time do I feel the stress of that clock as a viewer. At no time do I feel hooked into, oh my gosh, it's counting down. They've got to complete this quickly before it's done. Like we recently watched, the last film we watched was Ocean's 11. Tension and time is handled in that film in a different way, but handled in a fun, interesting way. They had all the tools to do the same thing here, and they just don't nail it. It is almost like a hammer versus a scalpel in the use of tension. Like it is a blunt instrument in this film that is not working for me, whereas in previous films it is something that's handled with care.
Yeah, it's just even the idea that, okay, you have 29 minutes in the real world, and then all they had to do was say, if we don't get back to a certain portal, we die forever. That's really all they had to do to actually inject some tension. But instead, it's just, 29 minutes is up. We'll die and respawn back in Tron land. I'm like, well, that's very uninteresting, and we don't really care about that. I mean, they keep counting down, and it's like, well, what's going to happen to them? They're going to respawn back in Tron land, like, you know.
I thought about this, right? The rifle that they find, the Dillinger rifle that digitizes people, right? They mention that it works on a wireless-based network, correct? And it can digitize people back into the well, I've forgotten the word for it, the grid. Easy solution: make the programs that have been spawned in have to wear like a bracelet, and when they're coming up to their time, they have to hit it, use that wireless network, and go back in. Right? Like there are things that you could do, and then you can separate people from the bracelet. You go, he doesn't have his bracelet. How are we going to get him back in? Like, or we could defeat villains by separating them from their bracelet. Like there are things that could do that, but this film is so consumed from a script point of view with explaining the importance of soul and the importance of being, the importance of like what is life, that I think it loses its soul in a strange way.
Yeah, it's a film that it does a lot of work to set up rules. They're very frustrating rules, and I think really in any kind of fantasy or science fiction style story, you absolutely need rules and constraints so that the audience know how the world works. It's just that the rules and constraints that they chose are kind of uninteresting and are devoid of tension, as you say. So I think as well, like I did just find that like Gillian Anderson is in this movie as well as Dillinger's
Mother.
And it was a character that I just was like waiting for something interesting to occur with this character, and then it didn't. And then she dies, and I'm just like, okay, so it's this cast that I know very well, and anyone who is someone who I kind of recognize seems to show up, say a few things, and die pretty much like right away. Like, and then even later in the film, Jeff Bridges makes what we would call a cameo in this movie, and he's the same. He doesn't quite die, but he shows up. He says a couple of things that actually don't make sense. I'm sorry, what he speaks makes no sense. And it's just like, hey, it's Jeff Bridges. Like, yep, there he is. And then they leave Jeff Bridges and he's done. Like, you know, it's weird kind of odd cameo. And that whole thing, from a plot perspective, absolutely drove me nuts because she, at the start of the film, right, the CEO, Eve Kim, she's like, I got to go to Alaska. I got to find this secret facility from, you know, Kevin Flynn. It's going to be really hard. I got to do all this computer stuff. And for months, I'm here at this terminal. And eventually, I have discovered the permanence code. I've got it now. Yay. I'm going to bring back, you know, I'm Prometheus. I'm bringing back the fire, right, to NCOM CEO headquarters. And then halfway through the film, she loses it, right? She's like, well, it's gone now. And then it's like, hey, I think there could be a copy. Where? At our headquarters. What?
Well, no, because when she found it in the backup code of his game. So they're going to find another copy of that game is why they go there. I had trouble with that too, and I'm like, why? And then I realized that
But
the
it's
connection.
the same problem.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm like, yeah, okay, but we went all the way to Alaska to
Yeah.
search for months for a thing that was actually just at the building all along. I'm like, I hate this. Like, this just kills me that this is what we've chosen to do. Yes, sure. I get what you're saying. They didn't know it was there, but I'm still like, this is weak. This is weak.
So
You know?
we've ragged on this movie quite a lot to start with, and I think very deservedly so, because there is the bones of something good. And
There
that's
really is.
there's the frustration of this movie is there's the bones of something actually, I think, very good. I know people have their issues with Jared Leto. I actually don't think he's necessarily bad in this film. I think it's how he has been asked to play the character and how the character is written. I actually think his understated acting in this probably suits the idea of a program in the real world. This movie looks and feels really good.
Let's just talk Leto for a second before we move on that, because my issue is not actually with Jared Leto, the actor, right? You know, he's done some very good stuff. My issue here is with the business decision to use him as a cultural lead anchor point for this franchise at this point in time. This was not a good idea. Like, this is a way, because he does not carry the cultural capital required to actually headline this particular series, right? And, you know, people have generally speaking, right, out in the world, there is a lukewarm interest in Tron. So the idea of saying Jared Leto's Tron is not going to entice, you know, people in here. It needed to be Hugh Jackman's Tron, right? It needed to
Keanu Reeves Tron.
Keanu Reeves Tron. Like, you know, it was just, so it's not that, in a weird way, it's a bit like, it's not even like Jared Leto couldn't be the star. He could be. It's just that they chose to, you can see it in the marketing. Like, they built the whole vehicle around him. And I was like, this is not a good move. People have in their heads, it's Morbin time, right? That's what we're thinking. Or people are having mixed feelings about his Joker, right? You know, this genre space feels that way towards this performer at this point in time. Whether that's justified or not, the business decision of it baffles me. What he's doing in the movie, fine, no problem. I don't have an issue. Like, he plays it well. I actually thought that he had some nice moments, particularly early in the film, and he does a good job. It's just I just can't get over that idea that, you know, you want to build this genre tentpole around this performer. It just does not seem like good business sense right now, like, given his cultural capital. Maybe in 5 years' time, things turn around, absolutely no problem. But it's just, business decision baffles me.
I mean, to show you kind of the bones of this film, I just want to say it's been nominated for awards. It's been nominated for visual effects. It's been nominated for music. It's been nominated for costume design. It's been nominated for things all about the look of the film and how the film kind of presents itself on screen. It is a pretty movie. It handles the grid stuff well. I'd liked more of the grid stuff, but it handles it well. It handles the real life digitization in an interesting visual way, even if it doesn't handle it in an interesting plot way. Like, it really feels like we had the startings of a good soup, a good stew. Like, it was there, but then the bits that are the hero of the dish, right? That, rightly or wrongly so, however you view cinema, of the script, the characters, the actors, like, that stuff didn't carry that dish through. And, you know, like, yes, they had the template of Tron Legacy as far as visual look and design and things like that. They had something to build off of. But yeah, there's a movie here that is good. There's a movie here that is good. Even if they kind of use a very similar plot, if they just make it that little bit tighter, cut down those weird expositions, cut down those weird travel scenes, give us a very clear singular protagonist, give us a very clear singular antagonist even. Like you talked about Gillian Anderson. I actually thought there was going to be a twist in that she was going to take that company back and be the actual villain. Like I thought there was going to be that moment of like, my son's actually weak. This place needs strength. I will come back as a form of strength.
And that would have been a something. Do you know what I mean? That would have been a something. It would have been like, okay, cool. Ooh, that's interesting. Like, you know, even if she digitizes him and he becomes like her slave on the grid to enact her plans, I'm like, oh, that's crazy and messed up, but that would have been interesting.
Or even if it turned out he was a digital program the whole time.
Something, yes, a something, as you say, like we
needed to be there.
And the other thing is, though, as well, this movie as well suffers from the fact that it uses a lot of what we had already seen in Tron Legacy, both visually, but then also in terms of the bones of the story. Like I said, I don't mind a fugitive story, but guess what Tron Legacy is? It's a fugitive story. It's a guy and a girl on the run together as they go, in that case, through the grid. And then we come now to Tron Aries, and we're like, well, it's actually a fugitive story again. It's a guy and a girl on the run, this time mostly in the real world. But we just did that in Tron Legacy. So if you're going to borrow all of Tron Legacy's visual style, which they did, and then you're going to borrow its, you know, actual character and plot wrappings of a fugitive story, what's new, what's interesting, what's different? And we're not left with very much other than, hey, remember how cool the aesthetics of Tron are? It's been a few years. Let's look at those again, you know?
I want to ask you about the music in the film. So the music in the film was hyped up before the release of the film. Like, hey, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, they're doing the soundtrack. Hey, remember when Daft Punk did the previous soundtrack? That was really cool. That was a point of difference. This is our music point of difference in this film. The soundtrack's all right. I don't feel like it comes off as interesting a soundtrack as Legacy, personally. I thought the Daft Punk soundtrack fit the genre so well and actually felt a part of the film, whereas there are times where, although the soundtrack is good, it sometimes feels a little bit apart from the film.
I actually was very disappointed in the soundtrack and how all that sort of played out, because I think, yes, maybe spoiled from the Daft Punk version from Tron Legacy. And the other thing is, I watched the whole film and I was excited about what the music was going to be before I went in. I got to credits rolling and I went, I can't remember any of the musical tracks.
Nothing stood out.
Nothing stood out to me. Nothing was, you know, actually, you know, so in order to actually work out if the music was even good, I would probably have to get the soundtrack on its own and play it while listening quietly in a room. And I'm like, well, it might be good music, but it's not hitting me the same way as, you know, the Tron Legacy stuff. And that for me was disappointing. Like, you know, there are several cues when I watched Tron Legacy for the first time that I could like go, whoa, I must have that. I must, when I get out, I must download that. I must, you know, look that up on streaming because that's a great musical cue, you know?
I'm not a soundtrack person, and I did exactly that with Legacy. Now, we've been comparing the two films a little bit. I want to say Tron Legacy is also a very flawed film.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, we're not talking like this is like a brilliant film that has been let down by a sequel. There are just like easy things to compare. But I would
say as well, like, I don't think it's unfair of us to compare it to Legacy, because the film is comparing itself to Legacy all the time. It's basically forcing comparison with both plot points, characters, and visual style. So,
but yeah, I just wanted to say, I walked out of that film and became a Daft Punk fan.
Yeah.
Like, I'd obviously heard their songs before, but like, I listened to everything Daft Punk after that. I listened to that album. And as I said, I'm not a music guy. I'm not a soundtrack guy. Jim has known me for years. He can know this is true. It's not what usually hooks me. I obviously enjoy good music, but I don't have a single album on my phone, for example. I don't have a single song other than Spotify. Back in the day, I didn't have an iPod playing music. I had an iPod playing podcasts. Like, it just wasn't my jam. But that movie, when I walked out of there, all I wanted more of was that soundtrack and that music. And this movie obviously doesn't have that. And look, that's odd. That's not normal. I understand that. But when you've come from that and you can see they are trying to replicate that musical phenomenon in this film and they miss it, you feel it.
I think as well, like the whole idea here of, is Jeff Bridges going to be a big part of this film or not? Like, it actually got to the point with this movie where I'm like, I'd rather he wasn't in it. I don't think his single scene is a very good scene. I don't think it adds anything to the movie, really. And it's supposed to be a big moment for Aries, but again, I almost would. I thought he was great in Legacy, and I thought the idea that he was
Digital
playing,
jazz, man.
yeah, he was playing both the villain and one of the protagonists was really fun, even though the CGI de-aging is its own podcast.
Its own thing.
It's its own thing. But yeah, I didn't want to be done with Tron, and Tron Aries kind of makes me go, I think I'm done.
Do you know what the crazy thing about Jeff Bridges was? Not only did they put him back in the film in the way they did, they used him in almost all the public appearances. He was in all the D23s. He did press for this film because they knew they needed something, and Jeff Bridges was the connection, right? Like, well, we'll put Jeff Bridges out there. They probably paid him more to do promotion than they paid him to be in the film. Like, that's how much he did. I also want to talk about rain. Rain is important in this film. Rain is a metaphor and symbolism in this film. And it is handled in a way that is, it is ham-fisted. So rain is important twice in this film. The first one is with Jared Leto's character Aries, and he feels rain or sees rain for the first time. And because it's not something he can experience unless he is out of the grid, it kind of breaks his programming. It's what sets him on his journey to being an individual and trying to become alive. His Pinocchio journey starts here. He wants to be a real boy. And then we get it later with Athena. Well, she witnesses it and she has a very different reaction. Her programming breaks, but it breaks in a way that she just doubles down. Like, we get two versions of the machine becoming awake in this film. We get Skynet, and we get Jared Leto, right? And it's both of them experiencing the same stimulus and both of them breaking in a different way as far as a program goes. It was the one kind of interesting, kind of almost philosophical thing in this film to me, in that they both broke. They both broke in different ways. But like, I don't know, it felt too in my face. And I know it's not like rain is used as symbolism in film all the time, as washing away something, as a rebirth, as a new start, as like kind of taking the blinkers off. It is a very commonly used thing. And I think in this film, it was just kind of used a little too hard, if you will.
Yeah, I think when there's not a lot else going on,
it just stands out.
It stands out. So, look, when I look at what we had here and maybe the future, it would have to be a really big swing now to get me interested in the Tron world once again. Like,
I have a pitch.
Okay, I was about to pitch.
Are you about to pitch?
No, you pitch.
My pitch is, and I've done this a few times, it's a TV show.
Right.
And it is a hard reboot, not of the story, but of the actors, right? So we start back with Flynn, right? We start with him and we do a whole new Tron from the start. He creates the thing, he enters the grid, he learns about the grid, almost like a whole like Narnia thing, right? In that when he comes back out, either a lot of time has passed or not a lot of time has passed, but we get a whole new exploration of the world, something that you can flesh out from scratch with consistency. You can have the Master Controller, you can have Tron, you can have all these things, and you can actually get back to the roots of what it is. Because here's the deal, right? The average movie-going audience doesn't know the contiguous story of these films.
Yeah.
Give them something to teach them. That's my pitch.
I like that. I like that. A hard reboot. I was gonna, and I think that's good contrast because my pitch, what I thought would interest me, look, that would interest me. But what would interest me is going in the opposite direction and just doing a crazy, like, okay, we are 15 years into the future, and we've set up a program city, like out in the middle of the
Like
Utah,
a permanence one.
a permanent one in the real world, and then it's humans getting invited into this new society that's in our real world, but it has all these programs with all their technology, and we make it like a almost like an invasion story where they're preparing to actually invade the rest of our world, kind of thing, and it's these few group in this new sort of machine city or program city, if you like. Like, do you know what I mean? A big swing, something huge, like in order to get me interested again. Now, I don't know if that's a good idea.
You could actually pull in all of our previous protagonists too, right?
Yeah,
it's a massive problem that needs more than one person to solve.
Absolutely. Like, and whether that's a good idea or not, it's really at the point where, in a way, Tron Aries was pretty safe. It was a pretty safe idea, and I think that really hurt them, given what it cost. And I sort of like, to get us interested again, we're going to need something huge. So I don't know. Look, it's not up to us. The point is, I didn't love Tron Aries. I wanted to, and I wished for it to be better. But I'm at least glad we got to talk about it. So
yes, that's why we do this. So that pretty much brings us to the end of Tron Aries. I think we were probably pretty fairly critical of this film. We pointed out, obviously, the things that were good. We pointed out what we would change or how we would move forward. But if you'd like to move forward with us in the future, let me tell you a little bit how you can listen to us and watch us, and then I'll tell you what our next movie is. So, if you want to listen to anything we do or watch anything we do, Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures. Look up that on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. If you jump onto our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. That lets us know you like what we do and gives us the energy to keep moving forward. And if you're hanging around, and if you're checking out a few different of our past videos, chuck us a comment. Let us know what you thought of Tron Aries. Let us know whose idea for moving forward with the Tron story is the better idea. Or just let us know a movie you'd like us to watch. We really appreciate any feedback we give, and we read every comment that is put onto our YouTube. If you want to follow us on any sort of social media, you can do so at Jim_and_Ben for Instagram and Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures on TikTok. So, that leads us to my pick for the next movie we're watching. I have been stuck in a spiral because we're in a particular time of year, and that particular time of year is Oscar nominations. Movies from last year that really stood out. And we're also at the time of the Razzies. Movies that stood out for maybe other reasons. Now, we've actually watched 2 films that are mentioned in the Razzies this year. Electric State was nominated as a contender for Worst Film, and Tron Aries was also mentioned for Worst Lead Actor with Jared Leto.
That's
I don't
not
think
very
it's a fair
fair.
Razzie. It's not a fair Razzie.
Yeah.
I also am not a huge fan of actors being nominated for Razzies, quietly. I understand the kind of humor that it tries to takes. A whole film I'm okay with, but the rest of it icks me a little bit. But anyway, back on track here. So, I was going to pick between 2 movies. Now, I've chosen both movies, and I know what they are if they come up. But, as we were doing this podcast, I thought of a third contender that was also nominated for multiple Razzies. And that was Morbius.
Is that only last year?
No. That was 2022. Right. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to make you sit through it again then. If you haven't seen it, because I haven't. If you haven't seen it, no, I was going to make us watch it. But otherwise, I'm going to flip a coin. And it's going to be our Razzie or it's going to be our Oscar film. You ready?
All right, let's do it.
It's our Oscar film. We are going to watch 2025's F1.
I haven't haven't seen this.
I haven't seen it either. So the Brad Pitt Formula One movie has been mentioned a few times in Oscar nominations this year, and that is what we're going to watch for our next podcast. For anyone who's curious, if you have Apple, it is on for streaming for Apple. Otherwise, you do kind of have to purchase it to watch it. So if you want to watch along with us, that's where you're looking for it.
All right.
Otherwise...
I'm looking forward to that. I wasn't sure what this was going to be, this little project.
Do you want to know what the Razzie was?
No, what was it?
Ice Cube's War of the Worlds.
Oh, that would have been hard. That would have been hard. Just because, like, I actually like Cube, but that movie, I believe, is like a locked perspective to a webcam.
It's like him talking to a webcam, yeah.
And I'm like, if the movie's no good and it's just a dude talking to a webcam, I mean, look, we all know it's not great. We do it every week for, like, you know... So,
well, join us next week to watch what is a good movie in F1. Thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures. Join us on our next adventure.
Bye.